that US businesses spend $8 billion annually just on providing the training to their team members on different aspects of inclusion and equity. Let's take it a little bit more further. What does it do to the bottom line benefits? If you have a culture of belonging really in your organization, it will increase the job performance by 56%. Okay, 56%. And the turnover risk decreases by 50%, 50. Okay. And it also, interestingly, leads to 75% reduction in sick days. So team members who call in sick, that goes down by 75%. So what does it mean in terms of the dollar amount? Let's say your organization have 10,000 people in overall globally and in the country. The annual saving through that 56% job performance increase, 50% reduction in turnover, and the risk of reduction, and 75% reduction in sick days will give you savings of $52 million. $52 million. That is how important my work on belonging is.
Welcome to the Oxygen Coaching Group 2023 Women in Business podcast series. We are so excited to highlight this year's Women in Business and all that they're doing for our community. Hope you enjoy the series.
Hello, Oxygen community. Okay, I am super excited about the conversation that we are going to have today as a continuation of our Women in Business series. We are going to have a in-depth conversation about something that not only is present for women business owners, but women in business, with someone who is experiencing it, running her own organization, and doing her best to defeat this process as a whole once we get into the topic of female rivalry. So let me introduce you to one of the most educated women that I do business with, and it's truly a pleasure, Dr. Farzana Chohan. And she is going to talk to us today for the next 30 minutes and just grace us with all of her information. So welcome, Dr. Farzana.
Thank you, Kat, for having me here and inviting me to have some in-depth, insightful conversations about different elements of our personalities and work engagements, which either make us successful or keep us back. So I run an advocacy and organization, which is also a mission of my life, to optimize excellence. Yes, it is a bold claim that it is a mission of my life, but I am going to say it. To optimize excellence means that we focus on human beings and the key elements of human, regardless of their background and differences, which includes both males and females, and how we can optimize that excellence in our world and in our working world and business world.
I love this. And one of the things that I want to talk about right off the rip as we get started here is there's everybody that listens to the Oxygen community knows how I feel about buzzwords. There's so many of them out there, and it's so easy to get caught up in whatever the flavor of the week is or the flavor of the month is. But we all hear DEI or diversity and inclusion. And I think what you are doing is riding within the rails of that, but you've really found a unique approach that helps companies and helps people that really need to benefit from companies wanting a diverse culture and wanting the idea of inclusion, but having it work for them without the buzzwords and without any kind of, agenda that's not beneficial. So talk to us about what makes you different and your approach different in the DEI world? Why are you different?
That is a great point. It is based on the lived experiences as a professional in a corporate world, not only in North American context, but in international context. So having a label of different identities on myself, I always felt that I am not included. I am excluded. I was a team member. I am working. I am doing prestigious projects, but I always felt a sense of exclusion. Research tells us that social belonging or the sense of belonging is a fundamental human need. How much discomfort you feel when you feel like people are not talking to you, they are not engaged with you, they are just being polite with you. So that is what is the missing piece in conversations and all the initiatives which businesses are taking right now to make a better representation of themselves for diversity, equity, and inclusion, but they are not focusing on creating a belonging, a culture of belonging, a workplace culture where everyone bring their authentic selves in. Okay, so this is not just Farzana telling you. This is based on the results by labor organization in United States. It says that 40% workforce tells that they feel isolated at work. They feel they just go to work, go through the motions, and come back. What does it do to that business? It has lower organizational commitment in that business. People don't want to be there for a long term, and they leave at the first opportunity. If they find one, they are lucky. What the other side effect of that for organization is when they have to recruit a new member, they have to spend more money on bringing them in and then retaining them. And if they're not successful, it is a lower return on their investment. So
That's
go ahead.
That is so much cost in just two sentences that you rolled off. Like, if you are a business owner, let's start right there. If you are a business owner, the cost ramifications of retention and recruitment right there. I mean, we should have everyone's attention that is in C-suite or hiring right there. And if you are even an employee and you feel like you're in an organization where where maybe you are in that 40%, wow, you don't have to be in an organization like that, but maybe that leads to the type of questions you need to be asking in your next interview. The culture of employees. When was the last time they did an employee survey? What were the results of it? You have the ability as any employee, but especially as a female, we're in this series of women in business. Ask the questions. Ask what it's like in the existing culture and get a sense of what that is, because statistics are clearly showing there are organizations out there that are doing it right, but they are the minority.
So thank you. When I was trying to talk over you, I was about to give you some numbers and some statistics. And this is older statistics. I will give you those numbers in a second, but I want to make a comment that asking that question, that when did you do the last survey of your team members, a lot of time you get an answer. And when I do this work with companies and C-suite leaders in terms of coaching, they say, oh, but we do surveys all the time and we get great results, great feedback, which means that you have created a culture where there is a fear also instilled in losing a job. So every employee or every work team member who takes the survey, they assume that it is not an anonymous survey, and to save their job, they just have to give you the answer you want to get. So it is not actually giving you the true picture of what is going on in your workplace. And again, then it falls onto the leadership that what they want their organization to be perceived and have a reputation in the larger world. There is a lot of cost involved in it. So the statistics I'm about to tell you is older. So it is from 2019. The research said that US businesses spend $8 billion annually just on providing the training to their team members on different aspects of inclusion and equity. Let's take it a little bit more further. What does it do to the bottom line benefits? If you have a culture of belonging really in your organization, it will increase the job performance by 56%. Okay, 56%. And the turnover risk decreases by 50%, 50. Okay. And it also, interestingly, leads to 75% reduction in sick days. So team members who call in sick, that goes down by 75%. So what does it mean in terms of the dollar amount? Let's say your organization have 10,000 people in overall globally and in the country. The annual saving through that 56% job performance increase, 50% reduction in turnover, and the risk of reduction, and 75% reduction in sick days will give you savings of $52 million. 52, $52 million. That is how important my work on belonging is in terms of dollar amount.
So if you feel like your employee survey is false, if you feel like you have a bigger problem, you're listening to this and you're like, okay, yeah, like maybe we have a more toxic situation than we realized. What other triggers or red flags can you look for beyond the employee survey? Because I will tell you, as a coach, that's one of the first things that we would say, like, let's get an employee survey. If you have one and you realize the results are false, what are some other items that you think you're looking for from a C-suite perspective that would indicate a toxic result in an employee survey?
So we talked about some of the indicators right over here from the statistics I just shared. Look at what is your job performance reviews telling you, okay, and how proactively busy your HR is in recruiting new people. Because if people are leaving at a faster rate, and especially a quality talent with high competency, that is a great indicator. And then other things. I mean, those three indicators are there. When people call in for sick leave, what is that rate, and when it goes higher and when it goes lower, and then pay attention to what kind of a culture exists within an office. If you talk about someone negatively and everyone jumps in and add to that negativity and say the same thing, so there are only people who say yes to you, that is actually not a good thing.
Okay, so you and I chuckle about this, but this is actually kind of one of the reasons why we kicked off the podcast the way that we did today. And I think that anybody listening, or any women listening today to this podcast, will understand or remember a moment when this has happened to them. We started with this whole female rivalry piece. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the reasons why you and I decided we were going to do this. So you just painted the picture of, okay, you have a group of people. something gets started in the office, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and all of a sudden you've ostracized one person, or you've got, the rumor mill is running rampant in a team or on a floor, for those of us who are old school and have been in a work environment like that. What is the dynamic? Like, talk to me about, when I say female rivalry to you, what comes to mind other than some of the horror stories that we've all been exposed to in our own professional life?
So the horror stories are in every aspect of human life, and that includes all genders also. With my own experience working in a male dominated industry of architecture for a long time, and many of us understand this, also coming from a patriarchal society, we don't do these things intentionally. But female rivalry especially has been more studied in male dominated industries because there were only a handful of women who started working in these industries. So the combination of patriarchal mindset and that concept that there is only one seat at the table. And if I have that one seat at the table, I cannot let someone else come and take it. And especially with our patriarchal mindset, if that person is not man, if it is a woman, then somehow I have to protect that one seat at the table, and the most vulnerable person to tackle with is the other woman. So that is the consequence of being part of patriarchal society and mindset since thousands of years. And we are still using it for our protection and self-defense, and we don't even realize. So the next piece of this is that this is detrimental to our own development and then detrimental to a larger professional development also. Because what enriches the work environment? Work environment is enriched when different people come together and provide their input and participate in growth and development.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. I wrote a couple of years ago when I became a published author, I mentioned a few of these scenarios that were happening in the national news even at the time. And women were coming out with almost like a level of pride where they had made something of themselves because they reserved their one seat. And it's so contradictory to there's room for everyone. And that's so theoretical. It's almost idealistic. And then when you go and you talk to young people who are coming up into the workforce or people who are actually in the workforce, the reality is that it's not like that. And, like if we talk about like the nursing field, predominantly female, it's very high hierarchy. There's a pecking order. Then you get women who are in a predominantly male industry. It is very much so you versus me. And so it does feel ideological almost that, it's gonna be okay, kumbaya, there's not gonna be any, female rivalry. It does exist, and it's hard to almost like have a tough skin about it. And for people who turn their head and go, oh, no, that's not a thing, that's old school. It's not. So, I think that it's a topic worth having a discussion about. And almost, like, I guess maybe my question to you would be, what do you say in a group of, maybe even men and women, when a topic like this comes up? Obviously, this is about inclusion, men and women. This, if that's the topic as a whole, what are good tips that you have for people when it does get to be a heated discussion, when people think, oh, well, this isn't a thing anymore. Men versus women isn't a thing, or, this shouldn't be a topic. How do you recommend people diffuse it or help facilitate the conversation a little bit better?
I will say one thing. This is a mindset. This is not a gender thing. Working in male work environments and having a large set of brothers, men are very supportive.
Yes, for sure.
And women are also supportive in their own realm of work and concept. This is the internalized mindset, and in research term, it is called internalized sexism. For women who have these thoughts about other women not going forward because then they will be left behind, is internalized sexism. And that same thing also is part of male. So it is a human internalization of it. When I have discussions with both men and women on these topics, I always say, use your own self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and experience around it. Would you like this to happen to your own daughter, to your own? And you probably have heard from those relations whom you love dearly that when they have that pain, you have that same trauma because of them going through that. And actually, in my TEDx talk, I refer to that research, which research phenomena. It is called secondary traumatic stress, SS. That when your family member is going through a trauma at work, you feel that trauma indirectly as much. So when these discussions can be perceived and directed in that manner, well, let's see how you will feel if this is happening to you and what suggestion you will have for yourself. That is the way. Our discussions, our coaching is always focused on coming to a common ground and mutually understanding it. It is not an argument or a discussion where one side has to win or feel like that they made better arguments. It is for thinking, it is for planting the seeds and self-reflecting on it more, because each one of us have a level of emotional intelligence and empathy. We just need to explore it much more deeply.
You are much more eloquent about the way you put these things together. It's good that you do this training and I do the training that I do. I always recommend that when people know this is going to be the topic, that you almost center yourself before you walk in the room. Like you said, this isn't a battleground. You have your experiences. We all are that combination of your experiences, your education, and your opinions. It's okay that you think what you do, but you also have the ability to be influenced and have new opinions, and that's okay. The starting your comments with "in my experience," that means that experience can't be taken from you, but you're about to get a new experience as well. And I think that leads to that emotional intelligence piece.
So talking about in my experience, and I gave this presentation yesterday also, when I look back and look at my journey from an architecture to finding a purpose in my life through that design field and creativity, and then authoring books. The first concept book is on leadership in women, and then the second is on diversity, equity, and inclusion, but more on how we are excluding each other, because it is in my experience and in my lived experience, both in profession and outside of the profession, is that I do not belong. And that if any one of you have felt that way in your life, and I'm sure you have felt that way and you continue to feel at some instances, that is not good for any sense and feeling and living. It brings you down. So it is always important to continue to evolve and learn, and we all are work in progress. So our businesses, our leaders, no matter how high they are in their position and how much they are earning, they still need to learn, and we all need to learn together.
That's the second time. I'm glad you looped back to this, because I was going to pull it out when we were talking earlier. This concept of loneliness and that fundamental need to be included. We all know that the pandemic exacerbated that feeling so greatly. So I think for organizations that are listening to this, or if you have any kind of influence on a team or an organization that is continuing to be virtual or has that hybrid work environment, or you're trying to decide, am I bringing my team back, or am I leaving my team hybrid, whatever that looks like. To me, it makes a ton of sense to consult with someone with your background and your experience before that decision is made. Because if you're cha-chaing back and forth across that line, my hunch is that there's something missing, and you could be the missing link, and your topics could be the missing link.
And the first step in that process is to get started. Follow that slogan. Let's just do it, because you can keep on thinking, is this real? Is this really happening? Or am I just overthinking it? No, explore it, find help. I am here to help. And it is very difficult to put things in the right order and in a right process of moving forward. And that's where someone with experience and expertise help. So please connect with me.
I love this. I think that you gave so many statistics. You might be the most statistic driven podcast that I've done on the Oxygen line. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think it is just a wonderful representation about the work that you're doing, both in construction and healthcare and all of the verticals that I know that you're touching. And just, by the way, you need to go find Dr. Farzana in all the places she's going to tell you here in just a minute. But I know that when people hear DEI, in a lot of cases, the initial reaction is expensive, doesn't apply. Oh no, not us. Like all of the things that we hear. And when I hear how you explain it and the work that you're doing, obviously you have a ton of street cred when it comes to your books and your programs and your TED Talk and all of the pieces here. There's a soft pitch here that is about actually getting people to be more productive and really improve their teams and their retention. So I just kudos to you for what you're doing and bringing to the world. So tell me, what do you think is the most influential thing that kind of like hit you in your heart that a client has said to you after working with you about the results that you've provided to their team?
One of the dynamics which a leader mentioned and it has stayed with me is that I always think about it from my perspective, from my life, and through your work, I have realized that I have lived a sheltered life, and I have no idea what leadership means. So thank you for telling me that how leaders work.
That's a rough revelation for a leader. I would say that's tough. But kudos, right? Ouch. All right. So tell this community how they best follow you and how they best connect with you, because like I said, I think everybody needs a little Dr. Farzana in their life.
So you can find me on LinkedIn, and we will put the link at the end of this podcast over here. You can also see my email address to reach me, optimizeexcellence@gmail.com. And there is a website by optimizeexcellence.com, which you can find online. So there are several different ways to connect with me, and it will be my honor to be able to help and support you in your journey and
I love that.
all your challenges.
I love that. Okay, so if you had to leave this audience with one piece of advice or one kind of nugget on the culture of belonging, what do you think it would be?
I will suggest, actually, not, I will not suggest, but I will say that I honestly and truly believe that you are a very good human and you have a power to help lift at least one person in life who is not related to you. So be human for human.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. You are an asset to my community. And in case nobody told you in the last 30 minutes, I think that you are amazing. And I'm humbled to have you as a part of my Women in Business series. So thank you very much. All right, Oxygen. We tell everybody to take just a little bit of time to breathe life in, and we will see you next week with another amazing female business owner. Chat with everybody soon.